36-year-old Odessa Carrey Jr. was sitting with a family friend when she opened a carrier bag she had brought with her on her visit. Much to the friend's surprise, Carrey pulled out a human head, then she kissed it. The head was that of her mother, who she had bludgeoned as she lay in her bed before cutting the head off. When police searched her mother's home, they found the rest of 73-year-old Odessa Carrey Sr.'s remains. Her body was found lying in her bed with a cross sliced into her abdomen. Her brains had been removed and were found in the bathroom. An investigation and autopsy showed that she had been beaten to death with a mallet while lying face down on the bed. Her daughter had then decapitated her before removing her brain with a knife and scissors. The elderly mother's head was located in the cupboard beneath a sink at a different address where a homeless Carrey Jr. was found hiding in the attic. Carrey Jr. was charged for April 6, 2019 murder of her mother but deemed mentally incompetent to stand trial. Jurors were asked to determine whether she committed the murder based only on the facts instead of whether they could attribute a status of guilty or not guilty to the defendant. Prosecutor Nicholas Lumley QC revealed to the court that an elderly Carrey Sr., who had to use a mobility scooter to move about, had been found on April 8, 2019. Lumley further stated for the record. On her bed, in her own home, lay Odessa Carrey Sr.'s body. Her head was missing and her abdomen, her tummy, had been cut open to expose the inside of her stomach. In the bath in the house, in a plastic container, there was blood and there were parts of brain tissue. There were also implements, a large pair of scissors, knives and a mallet. Lumley added that when police visited an address in Guidepost, Northumberland, they located Carrey hiding out in the attic. It was at that same location that they found her mother's head, wrapped in a pillowcase and a towel and placed in a carrier bag. CCTV footage from the days following the discovery of the murder shows Carrey Jr. walking around the streets with the bag in her hand. It is not known how long her horrible act might have gone undiscovered. She hadn't taken it out at the garden allotment of a friend. She is said to have been sitting in his shed, wiping blood off of her arms and hands with baby wipes before removing the contents of the bag. Lumley told the court. She had a bag with her and from the bag, she carefully took a parcel, of sorts, the contents wrapped in a pillowcase in a towel, from which she produced a human head. Odessa Carrey spoke and kissed her mother's forehead before carefully rewrapping the head in its shroud, putting it back into the bag. He added that the expert findings in the case indicate that Carrey Sr. had been facing downward on her bed when she was attacked. They indicated that there were multiple impacts that resulted in fractures of the face and skull. These injuries were ruled the cause of the death. It is believed that the mallet found in the bathroom was the weapon used to bludgeon the elderly woman. Afterward, Carrey Sr. was turned over and her abdomen was sliced open in the shape of a cross. Her head was removed using knives and scissors and taken into the bathroom. There, the brain was removed from the skull and the mallet was washed off. Her daughter's DNA was recovered from the handle. According to Lumley, the head was then wrapped up and placed in the carried bag before being taken from the house. It was, sadly, not as much of a surprise to the Carrey family as one would think. Prosecutor Andrew Espley told the court that members of the family had provided witness statements indicating that there had been long-standing mental health difficulties they had seen in Odessa Jr. as early as the age of 6 or 7. They expressed having feared for the safety of Carrey Sr. at the hands of her daughter. Their fears were only increased by Carrey Jr.'s failure to take medication prescribed for what doctors termed delusional schizophrenia on a consistent schedule. They reported a history of violence and aggression toward her mother and former partners. The court was told that Carrey Jr.'s delusional schizophrenia meant she was still under the belief that the person she killed and mutilated was not her mother. Carrey was found incompetent to plead her case against a charge of murder or manslaughter but was instead found to have committed the crime by a jury in a trial based merely on the facts and not her mental capacity. Judge Paul Sloan, QC, told Carrey, "Having regard to what you did and the very considerable risk you pose if set at large, I am satisfied it is necessary for the protection of the public from serious harm that you be subject to a restriction order in a secure hospital. There will be specific restrictions before you could ever be discharged from hospital. He further ordered that Carey, who was carefully guarded by law enforcement and mental health staff, was to be remanded directly into the care of Rampton Hospital, a secure psychiatric facility, in Nottinghamshire. The family spoke of the loss of Carey Sr., saying that she would be missed by her sons, daughter, her brothers and sisters, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, nieces, nephews, and friends. In a statement from the family, an older sibling expressed grief at having lost their mother to a horrific and vicious attack by our younger sister, who had suffered mental health issues for many years. It was further noted that the mental health system had failed their family and required vast improvements to prevent another family from suffering such a horrible event. There is no doubt that this was a terrible crime, tragic for all involved. The Carey family has faced the worst-case scenario and my heart goes out to all of them. Hopefully, Odessa Carrey Jr. will finally get the help she needs and her family can begin to heal from this horrible crime.